The morning after my cat passed, I woke up to find a Luna Moth on my pillow in the middle of winter. Welcome to Phoenix Fortis. I'm your host, Diane. Today's letter comes from a listener named Emily, who is still navigating the tender landscape of grief after the loss of her beloved cat, Luna. It's a story about love, quiet, enduring, and sometimes even supernatural. It's about how the bond we share with our animal companions doesn't always end at goodbye. Sometimes, even in the silence that follows, something stirs, a feeling, a sign, a reminder that love hasn't gone, it's only changed. Sometimes, love finds a way to remind us it's still here, in subtle, miraculous ways. This is a story of loss, healing, and the delicate wings of memory that flutter in when we need them most. Let's begin. Dear Diane, when Luna passed away peacefully in her sleep, the grief was overwhelming. It wasn't just a pet I had lost. It was a limb, a part of my daily existence, a quiet confidant. The house felt achingly empty. The silence, deafening, no soft patting of her paws, no gentle meows asking for attention or affection. I cried until there were no more tears. And then I just sat in the stillness, feeling utterly, irrevocably broken. Then the signs began. The very next morning, I woke up, eyes swollen, heart heavy, and there it was, a Luna Moth resting on my pillow, perfectly still, in the middle of winter. It was so out of place, so impossibly delicate, that for a moment I thought I was still dreaming. I carefully scooped it up and released it outside, thinking maybe it was just a beautiful, strange coincidence. But it wasn't the last. About a week later, in the middle of a particularly raw wave of grief, I opened a forgotten book and a dried Luna Moth wing fluttered out, drifting like a whisper into my lap. I stared at it, stunned. I had no memory of placing it there. Then, a few days after that, while watering my plants, I spotted another, a perfectly intact moth shell clinging to a leaf I'd passed dozens of times before. Each appearance felt like a gentle nudge, a quiet hello from somewhere beyond my understanding. At first, I questioned my sanity. Was I just desperate for a sign? So desperate I was inventing meaning where there was none? Was this just grief, twisting coincidences into comfort? But the consistency, the impossibility of these moments began to shift something in me. They were too precisely timed, too intimate, too specific to ignore. Each time, it felt less like coincidence and more like a message, a quiet whisper of comfort, a soft, invisible paw reaching back. Desperate for understanding, I reached out to an animal communicator. I was skeptical, but open. I needed something, anything, a sliver of peace. What she shared left me breathless. She spoke of Luna's mischievous habit of batting the blinds each morning, something I had never told anyone. She described Luna's favorite sunny spot on the rug and even said the silly nickname I used to call her, one I'd only ever spoken aloud when we were alone. But what struck me most was her message, that Luna was still with me, not gone, just changed, and that the moths were no accident. They were messengers, little wings of love sent to remind me that our bond hadn't broken. It had simply taken flight. The grief didn't vanish, but it shifted. The sharp ache softened, slowly, like a bruise fading beneath the skin. What once felt like emptiness began to fill with something else. Gratitude. For the years we shared, for the comfort she gave so freely, and for the quiet, ongoing connection I never expected, but now couldn't deny. Knowing that Luna was still with me, in her own way, brought a peace I hadn't thought possible. In her memory, I've created a small Luna Moth sanctuary in my garden. I've planted flowers that attract them, chosen carefully, tenderly. It's a quiet, beautiful space. And when dusk falls and the pale green wings begin to appear, I feel her there, watching, staying, loving. Maybe love doesn't disappear when they die. Maybe it just finds new wings. Thank you, Emily, for sharing your beautiful, tender story. The way animals stay with us long after they're physically gone is truly profound. Your experience with Luna and the Luna Moths is a powerful reminder that connection transcends time, distance, and even death. These signs, however subtle or strange, can become lifelines in grief, anchoring us in love instead of loss. They remind us that while the body may be gone, the bond isn't. And sometimes, just when we think we've been left in silence, something small and quiet shows up to say, "I'm still here." Love like that doesn't need words. Sometimes it shows up in wings, in the way our hearts flutter unexpectedly because some part of us still recognizes theirs. If you're grieving a pet right now, please know you are not alone. Grief can feel like an ocean, vast, unpredictable, impossible to cross. But healing doesn't always come crashing in like a wave. Sometimes it drifts in on quiet wings, soft, beautiful, barely noticeable, until suddenly you realize you can breathe again. Sometimes healing looks like a moth on your windowsill, a familiar shadow at the edge of your bed, or the feeling that someone who loved you deeply is still watching over you. And maybe that's the real magic. Not moving on, but moving forward with the quiet belief that love never truly leaves. To all our listeners out there, if you've ever felt the lingering presence of a beloved animal after they've passed, if you've ever caught yourself talking to a photo or whispering a name into the quiet, if you've ever felt a warmth beside you that logic can't explain, you're not alone. Not in your grief, and not in your love. If you have a story about the quiet ways a pet changed your life, or the signs they left behind, we would be honored to hear it. Phoenix Fortis is a place to hold space for that kind of love. The kind that walks beside us without words. The kind that leaves paw prints on our hearts, even long after the leash is empty. Because here we remember. Here we honor. And here we heal together. We'll be back soon with another story of resilience, love, and the quiet ways we're reminded that we are never truly alone. Until then, take care of each other, take care of yourselves. I'm your host, Diane, and this has been Phoenix Fortis, where even the softest wings can stir the embers, and from sorrow, something radiant takes flight. And as always, keep rising.